Welcome back. Well, it's our home stretch, and now we're focusing on the International Day on Violence Against Women. We've got Amabel Nwakama here with us. She's the Program Director of Genesis House. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
So, why a lot of focus on this? I mean, is it on the increase these days, or what?
Oh, the statistics are 1 in 3 women.
1 in 3?
Globally, yes, in their lifetime will experience some form of violence. And it is alarming because it's a public health issue. It's an economic issue. It affects how families are run. It affects how families progress, and that in turn affects the larger community, which in turn affects the economy, affects the country, affects health outcomes of communities, because women who have been violated tend to have worse health outcomes over the course of their lives, and this affects their productivity, their abilities to raise their families, their abilities to contribute to society. So it is a big issue.
Is it that it's you say it's increasing globally, 1 in 3?
Yes.
But what about the start here? Is it increasing, or is there a lot more focus on it because of the advent of social media now?
I think our stats are even worse.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
worse?
Some surveys say it's up to 70% of women will experience or have experienced some form of violence in their lives. And I was even saying recently, just on a personal level, when I was doing an inventory of people that I know, who I'm quite close to, I found that almost everyone that I know, female, that I'm close to, has experienced some form of violence, sexual violence, physical violence in their life, or even currently. So it is a big issue, and I think culturally, because of the kind of culture we have, it's very patriarchal, so it makes it conducive for it to continue to be higher here than in other countries.
So why is it increasing? Because, I mean, if you say it's cultural, I thought that a lot more people are getting aware of why they shouldn't do certain things. So you'd have thought that, okay, since the awareness is increasing, it's dropping, not increasing, but you say it's worse here.
It is worse here. But, you know, so the internet age has actually made it worse, because violence against women is broadly defined. It's not only when you physically violate a person and, you know, they have a scar to show for it. They define it with terms like such as emotional violence, psychological violence, harassment, threats. And with social media and the internet, that has become worse than ever. So people are having more ways to attack a person, to threaten a person, to make a person feel unsafe in their space. So that's why we're seeing it on the increase.
Do you think that we are on the same page when you say violence against women? Because a lot of people, when they hear this, they immediately think it's physical violence against women. So if you then say, oh, well, emotional violence, maybe that's why it's on the increase, because some people may not be aware that it rates in the same manner.
Yeah, well, this is true. In fact, this is one of the issues, because people tend to think it has to be, you know, when someone is physically hurt and you can say they've been hurt. But even with physical violations, there are long-term consequences that are not only physical, which is why it is such an issue. So yes, we can say violence against women. If it's not a physical attack, then how can you classify it as violence? But violence more from the term of violations. So how is it affecting the person in the short and long term? So physically, you can be attacked, you can be raped, for example. And in that instance, you're physically hurt, you're bleeding, or, you know, but what are the long-term consequences? How's that going to affect you, and how's that going to affect your outcomes? And that's why we can't just stick to the physical aspect of it, because it has far greater, far-reaching consequences on your life, on your outcomes, who you can be, how you interact with people in your workplace, how you interact, how you are relationally, how you can contribute. So it can't just be in the box of just physical, because it's so much bigger than that.
What efforts are you deploying, or should I say, what strategies are you deploying to try to see that we have a correction, especially a societal correction, to these actions?
Well, the most important strategy, I think, is awareness, making a little bit of noise about it. Because a lot of times people feel that it is some abstract concept that affects the other person rather than them. You hear about it, you have a head knowledge of it, experientially it might not be your story, or you might think it's not your story. But I always say to everyone that for every person I meet, you both and everyone around, there is definitely, without a doubt, someone in your life, family member, friend, colleague, you know, niece, nephew, who has been or is being violated somehow. And I think when I put it that way, it puts it in perspective that it's not just an abstract other concept, it's something that hits close to home. Because it is true. If you're thinking of 1 in 3 women, you know 3 women, you know 3 females. That means one of the people you know could be getting regularly violated. You might not even realize it. They might not tell you. So we need to make noise about it, because it's important for people who are victims to feel safe to talk about it. And it's important for, when I say this to you, you might have a think and want to look out for certain signs. So if I'm talking to you about the signs to look out for, and you have someone in your space or in your life that tends to demonstrate some of those signs, it might make you a little bit more empathic.
So what kind of support are you getting in your campaign, especially if you have to look at it from the higher level, say the legislators, for instance? Are there laws that you think that are needed to try to control the exponential growth of this challenge that we face?
Definitely.